Hey everyone, it's the Outlaw John Rocha here for the Outlaw Nation with another review just for you. And hey, you might be asking yourself, why are you wearing a tie, Outlaw? Well, I'll tell you why. You don't review the latest film from Guy Ritchie called The Gentleman without wearing a tie and bringing along a drink. Hey, Outlaw Nation, thanks so much for clicking on this link to watch this review. And as I said earlier here, we are reviewing The Gentleman, the latest film from Guy Ritchie. I can't tell you how much I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Had myself a great time sitting there with a big Cheshire cat grin on my face as I watched this whole thing from beginning to end. You know, I've been a fan of Guy Ritchie's films when he's gone into this British gangster genre, like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Rock and Rolla, great stuff. Less said about Revolver, the better. And I've enjoyed Aladdin. I didn't like King Arthur, unfortunately, but I've also enjoyed his Sherlock Holmes movies. But this is a return to form for him in a genre that he's obviously made his name in and made his bones in. And I was a little worried, like a lot of my fellow reviewers or fellow film fans were worried that this might be him going to the well once too often, but no need to worry at all. This one was absolutely fantastic. Let's give you a little synopsis of the plot. It's an American expatriate who's trying to sell off his highly profitable marijuana empire that he has established in London. Yes, an American establishing a massive marijuana empire in London. And then when he tries to sell it, it triggers all these plots and schemes and bribery and blackmail, all in an attempt to steal the empire from him at a lower cost or at the cost of his life. So a lot of stuff goes on. Sorry about that. A lot of stuff goes on in this one that I found really interesting. Let's look at the cast here. Matthew McConaughey leads the cast here as the American expatriate trying to sell off his empire. Charlie Hunnam plays his second in command in essence. Henry Golding is this wild competitor from the Asian gang who wants to take over the empire as well. Michelle Dockery plays Matthew McConaughey's wife, and she's incredible in this thing. Jeremy Strong, from some of you may know from Succession, he plays essentially the main antagonist with some tentacles reaching out. Eddie Marsan is in this one as a tabloid editor. Colin Farrell is incredible as well, and Hugh Grant is the reason to watch this. Hugh Grant steals this movie in every scene he is in, except for any scene with Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell steals any scene he is in, that's for sure. Those are the three standouts for me: Colin Farrell, Hugh Grant, and Michelle Dockery in this one. All of them doing excellent work. But Guy Ritchie does a whole new approach to this British gangster installment here, and kind of uses Hugh Grant and Charlie Hunnam to essentially be telling you all the exposition as they're having a back and forth conversation that lasts for a number of hours, and then the film finally catches up to that moment, and from there it takes off like a rocket. So many fun and interesting characters that you would expect to see in a Guy Ritchie film are in this thing as well. Clever dialogue, funny jokes, sometimes a couple of inappropriate jokes, but hey, that kind of stuff is making a comeback in these films, and I like that it was in it. Also, great action sequences, funny moments of violence, all the kind of stuff you've come to expect, as I said, from a Guy Ritchie film. It is all here and thoroughly enjoyable. Great soundtrack as well. Shout out to Bugsy Malone, who's in the movie and also gets an awesome rap scene in the movie. Plus, there's a fight scene that'll blow your mind between these young kids and the older dudes down in a marijuana distillery underground that is fun to watch. So it's vibrant. It is enjoyable. It feels topical. It doesn't feel like Guy Ritchie is mining the stuff he's done before at all. New conventional way to tell things, and a lot of twists and turns that'll have you guessing all the way up until the end. So I can't recommend this one enough. It gets 4 cowboy hats. I could have gone 4.5, but of course it isn't quite the heights that I enjoyed in Snatch or even Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but it's still damn good. And I can't give enough love again to Colin Farrell, Hugh Grant, and Michelle Dockery. They are the reasons to see this one. Everyone else is fantastic as well, but those three really stand out in embracing their characters. Michelle Dockery bringing that fire in a role maybe a lot of you haven't seen outside of Downton Abbey, her playing badass roles. She can do that, that's for sure. Colin Farrell, as I said, doing his best Conor McGregor, and Hugh Grant doing a Cockney accent like I've never heard before. I mean, it's been incredible to see Hugh Grant's progression as an actor from over the last few years. You know, there was rumors that he was kind of retired, he was kind of done with it. Maybe doing all those string of romantic comedies kind of wore him out a little bit, but to see him doing great work in like Florence Foster Jenkins in A Very English Scandal and now in this film, it's been been nice to savor the later years of Hugh Grant as an actor who essentially is a character actor in a male ingenue's body. It's been fun to see him embrace these roles and really knock them out of the park. So there you go. Clever dialogue, great action sequences, fun twists and turns. And by the end of the movie, you'll have enjoyed spending time in this world with these people and maybe won another one. So hopefully Guy Ritchie will come back and do it again. So there you go. 4 cowboy hats. The Gentleman. Go see this one. Now, for those of you that stuck around, let's have a conversation about Guy Ritchie. This has been an incredible run of movies for him. If we break this all down, let's take a look at him. I know I'm doing this while I look on the computer, so it's cool for you to kind of follow along with me as well. If you want to look up all the films that he's directed, let's take a look here. Obviously, start out with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Snatch. Then he did a couple of shorts as well. Swept Away, which is the film he did with Madonna. Revolver. So those two back-to-back kind of took a little bit of the luster off the shine of Guy Ritchie. Then he came back with Rock and Rolla in 2008, which was incredible. Then Sherlock Holmes there in 2009. Then A Game of Shadows 2 years later in 2011. A couple of shorts in the middle. Then Man from U.N.C.L.E. in 2015, which a lot of people liked. I think technically it's a good film, but it's not one of the greatest films that he has done for sure. But featuring some really charming and fun performances from Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer in that one, and Alicia Vikander as well, Elizabeth Debicki, which Bibiani might remember Elizabeth Debicki in that one. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, I absolutely hated, but Aladdin was a complete surprise to a lot of us who went to see the film afterwards. Really enjoyed what he's able to do with that, the heart he found in this thing. And then The Gentleman, of course, coming that is out now. Cash Truck is the next one he's working on. I don't know too much about that one, but it is in post-production right now. So when you look at the Guy Ritchie films, right, you want to start there. What are your favorite? Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. There had been British gangster films before, right? The Italian Job with Michael Caine. Of course, all the Get Carter had been around as well. Long Good Friday. The Bob Hoskins was in. There's so many good British gangster films that had come out before Guy Ritchie had done Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels in 1998. But there was something universal or connectable or relatable in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels that I think the other British gangster films didn't have. I think his use of humor was brilliant in these situations where you found yourself laughing and not knowing if you're supposed to be laughing. All of that is in there. Snatch was incredible, going almost next level with that one here in terms of taking that genre and kind of elevating a little bit. Brad Pitt coming in doing some funny and fantastic character work in that as well. Jason Statham kind of leading the way in this, breaking out from that foursome that was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. By the way, two of the other 4 people besides Statham are all in there. Dexter Fletcher, Jason Fleming, all working, directing, doing their thing in Hollywood as well. So certainly Guy Ritchie and his casting people picked out 4 incredible people to be a part of this thing as well. All right, you move into Rock and Rolla. I enjoyed that. Tom Hardy, a young Tom Hardy in this one. Idris Elba, Gerard Butler, kind of around the 300 time when he's like kind of building a name for himself. Really fun, interesting. And then you got Americans coming into this. We had Ludacris. You had Jeremy Piven in this as well. I think Gemma Arterton is their assistant in their club there. And Toby Kebbell. Toby Kebbell in an interesting role in Rock and Rolla as well. And Tom Wilkinson in that one as well. Sherlock Holmes, both the Sherlock Holmes. I enjoy the second one now more than the first one. Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, had some great work in that film from Jared Harris and Robert Downey Jr. in terms of the chemistry. You have more with, of course, Jude Law and everything going on there. We get ourselves, I think we do get Stephen Fry in that one as Mycroft Holmes. Always interesting to see him show up in a film. But I thoroughly enjoyed what he was doing with Game of Shadows, and I know he's not directing the third one. It's so ironic that I think it's Dexter Fletcher directing the third one, who he directed in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Kind of fun to see it all staying within the family. And then, of course, as I said, we get to Man from U.N.C.L.E. Like I stated, not the most emotionally connectable film or a film that you're going to feel that's super dynamic, but it is pretty to look at. It is smart. It is fast-paced. And it is interesting as you're watching Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer kind of dance around each other, then come together. And then, of course, Alicia Vikander being in between them, trying to figure this all out and solve this situation with Elizabeth Debicki being the main villain throughout the piece. And a lot of people felt like it was a good film that hasn't gotten its credit or its love that it should have gotten. But I think that's the reason why it didn't, is this distance that you feel in the movie as you're watching it. It's technically beautiful, but it doesn't quite connect or hook into you in an emotional emotional way that it would make you excited to see it like you do with a lot of the Daniel Craig Bond films and some of the Bourne films as well from Matt Damon. And then you jump into King Arthur. Less said about that, the better. Aladdin. Really, what a surprise, like I said earlier, but also some great work from everybody involved in that cast, including Will Smith. I mean, a lot of people were worried about Will Smith kind of taking over for Robin Williams, and damn if he doesn't do a great job and kind of making that genie character his own. Mina Masood, fantastic in this one. I hope I'm saying that right. Or Masoud, hope I'm saying that right. Naomi Scott is good in this one as well. And Nassim Pedrad gets a little shout out being in this movie as well. I always love seeing Nassim show up in so many different projects. But what a nice different change of pace for Guy Ritchie to do something like this. It must have been very difficult to adapt Aladdin again, and he certainly, I think, did a fantastic job for that. So in my opinion, Snatch is the number one film for Guy Ritchie. Then it's Lock, Stock 2, Smoke and Barrels. Probably Rock and Roll after that, maybe, I would say. Oh, no, I say Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. Probably Rock and Roller, then Sherlock Holmes, then Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then we descend from there in terms of his oeuvre, so to speak. So there you go. That's my review of Guy Ritchie in The Gentleman, and also a little bit of extra conversation about Guy Ritchie as a director and his work. So hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much for clicking on this link to watch this review. Hope you're having a phenomenal day, and maybe go out and see The Gentleman. Tweet at me or put an Instagram message up there for me at The Rocha Says. Let me know if you liked it. And please subscribe to the channel here. And if you want to go to my Patreon to support all we're building here in the Outlaw Nation, I'd be most appreciative. Please go to www.patreon.com/John Rocha and go ahead and donate. I got multiple tiers up there from $1 to $500. Yeah, you might be going like $500. What do you get for $500? Go take a look and see what you get for $500. I am most appreciative for all of you going on, getting on the train with me here on the Outlaw Nation and seeing where it goes. All right, we'll talk to you next time. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.